So I was an assistant professor in the early 90s, and my earliest recollections about ACSP was being an assistant professor, which I didn't know what that was, and um, being really excited actually to come to a conference where I felt that my colleagues were there. So I would go to other conferences when I was a PhD student, and they were great, and I learned a lot, and I was exposed to a lot of different ideas. But coming to ACSP actually was a different kind of experience because people were in the same game as you, and they were talking to you about things you understood. And so I think it was a very exciting time for me to come. And at that time in the early 90s, too, I think there was a lot of excitement about programs that were growing and um, new and exciting directions for the planning discipline. And so it was an exciting time, I think. So I was a member of two different departments. One when I started working in the early 90s at UC Irvine, and then later on when I moved to UCLA. So I've been kind of a member off and on through different institutional programs.
And so, as current president, you have, I'm sure, several things you want to accomplish. And,
Sorry.
and still
Yeah, I just want to get through a session without falling through a stairway.
Yeah.
So, there is an agenda. We all have agendas. June agenda, June Manny Thomas's agenda was really about connections with different groups of people. So partly what I wanted to do was to try to maintain that momentum, because what you don't want to do is come in and then try to start something completely from scratch. You only have 2 years, and I think her trying to connect the association and the academic planning community to other people was a really good idea. So what I tried to do was to sustain that momentum. So her theme was connections, my theme is relevance. So really about ensuring that the connections that she was trying to build maintain relevance through these next couple of years, but also that we think about sustainable growth into the future. So in some ways, we're still trying to work on the stability of the association in terms of revenues, the ways that we can grow that make sense, in trying to build on June's efforts in connecting our association to other groups. How do we brand ourselves in a way that's appropriate? What do we really mean in this new world we live in? And how do we do things in a way that is going to maintain that relevance and importance for our membership, but also for other associations and groups into the future? So, I think, it's not my job to say, oh, I know everything, or I know better than anybody else, but really to build on the shoulders of all the wonderful presidents we've had in the past, and to try to ensure that, as I said when I was put in the role of dean, make sure the building doesn't burn down. So I have very low standards, actually. Don't burn the building down, don't kill anybody, don't poison folks, and then also have sustainable growth.
And be meaningful.
And be meaningful, yeah.
That relevance thing. So, what do you think as ACSP moves forward? Just this past year, we've gone from really one full-time staffer to almost 5, not full-time, but more than part-time
Yes.
staffers. Where do you see ACSP as we move forward in the future? And I'm going to cough, so wait to answer. Sorry.
That's okay. Mixed coughing and sympathy with you.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a lot of change that's happening inside the association. I think some of it has to do with the image of ourselves and who we are and how we want to present ourselves to the world. The other is that, we used to be this very small, informal group that did things because we wanted to, and now we're turning into this kind of big association with a big meeting and a big stuff happening. So it's requiring us to rethink how we do things in addition to who we think we are. So, when the governing board voted to support this idea that we needed to think about rebranding, I think that was a sea change in how we think about the association, from this informal group of friends to this now association that should provide services and benefits to its members, but also stand for something out there in the world. So I think, my hope is that we continue to, and the staff are thinking about this too, continue to think about how we do our jobs better, in a way that's appropriate to the mission of the association, but also that we understand that what we do now may not be what we're doing in a few years. So we're trying to be adaptive. We're trying to be, flexible. I think that's what's great about the officers and the team, that we understand that what we have now is not going to be what we're going to see in 6 months or 3 months or next week. So, and everybody's okay with that, which is kind of amazing. Because I work at an institution, and I'm sure Mick does too, where it is difficult to do anything, and to do anything quickly is really difficult. So to be in an association where, we have to change course in a very radical way in a couple weeks before a conference is a miraculous thing. So I am very grateful to all the staff and the officers and the governing board and everybody else for kind of making sure that we're, if you want to experiment, that's okay. And if it all blows up, well, we'll just come back and try it again. So it's a great group of folks for that. It's not, you don't find that everywhere. So it's a great association because we're a bunch of members, but it's also great because we are willing to try new things. So when I think about innovation and I think about adaptation and flexibility, I think that's who we are now, which is great. So you talk about growth in staff. That's all part of the whole thing we're doing, right? We're trying new stuff. We're trying to see if it works. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't work, we go back to the drawing board and try it again.
And I think there is a freshness about a willingness to fail.
Yes.
And I
every day.
It's an understatement to, or a disservice to overlook that, because it is that willingness to fail that will progress the association and the planning industry. Because so as an outsider, I feel like people don't recognize that a bicycle lane or a path or where these things are placed is being done by someone. They don't think about that. Oh, this park is really great. Well, somebody designed it. So making that a known element to the layman will create your relevance globally.
Yeah, I think part of what we're trying to do is figure out how to communicate better among ourselves, to the outside world, to varying constituents and partners. We ran a session yesterday on difficult conversations. We're trying not to avoid the hard things we got to do, and that's the other strength of this association, I think, is that the membership, we don't agree all the time on things. We have very visceral and strong-willed people, visceral arguments and strong-willed people, but I think that's a good thing. And the question is, how do we use all that energy to progress in a way that's productive? And so, part of the whole challenge, I think, was to figure out a way to communicate who we are and what we do as a group, how to do things as an association that's going to benefit everybody, and as you're saying, communicate to other people, not just what planners do as practitioners, where's the bike lane going, but what planning researchers do, and how is that a benefit to society? So, I think we're tackling really difficult issues that the association has been dealing with throughout its history, but we're having to face these things head on because the world has become much more complex, much more vitriolic, much more difficult to deal with. And so how do we help our membership come together and talk about things that are hard, go and talk to other people about things that are hard, and then try to change things that are hard? I don't know the answers to that, but I think we're moving in the right, I hope we're moving in the right direction. I don't know, sometimes I'm talking, I'm like, what the hell's going on here today? But, I think I feel positive energy. Maybe I feel positive energy. Somebody's outside. Oh my God, it's Catherine Ross. We're backing out here.
Good.
Am I done?
You one last. You can be done. Just.
I can't be done.
Anything you want to say to the audience that might.
No, I think I'm good. I've talked plenty.
You did wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.